Hey, Neil Patterson here. If you enjoy my stupid videos, if you enjoy my little comedy skits, if you enjoy my podcast, this is the best way. For only $5 a month, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Neil P. Neil P. Thank you in advance for getting me through 2021 and beyond. Love you, love you. It's Neil Patterson. I'm a guy, I'm a dude, I'm a human being, and I'm here with Nick Strike, who I met through the app TikTok, which is a horrid but sometimes rewarding place where we post videos and whatnot and get real weird. And Nick refers to himself as a wholesome Satanist, and I don't know much about that, so I'm going to ask Nick right here a bunch of dumb questions about Satanism and his own specific brand of Satanism on this podcast called SUPcast, this is my podcast, Nick. Welcome to the SUPcast. Thank you for being here. It's a lovely, what day is it?
Monday.
What the fuck day is it, dude? It's Monday.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And so I was raised Christian. I was raised Catholic, and I'm actually a confirmed Catholic, which is weird, but I just want to preface this entire podcast saying that I confirmed to Catholicism based on the fact that I knew that my right-wing Catholic dad side of my family would shower me in gifts. So when I was in high school, I confirmed, and I got a guitar amp. And then I don't think I've been to church since. so that's
a score.
That's my religious history in a nutshell. I did catechism. I'm trying to think of it was weird. My mom just was trying to appease my dad's side of the family, but my dad didn't really give a shit. So my mom actually converted. That's what it's called when you convert religions. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's considered a conversion. She converted she was Lutheran, and she converted to Catholicism to appease my dad's mother. But then she did all the work raising us Catholic, but my dad just sat on a couch and watched football. And it was weird because once he got kicked out of the house, we didn't go to fucking church. And yeah, I consider myself kind of agnostic these days. I don't know what I believe, but I'm interested in what other people believe. And I want to dive into what you believe because I think it's very interesting. So
sounds good.
So I don't know. We can roll and talk and have a conversation. And that's what this podcast is all about. Boom.
Cool. I guess I'll start with my background in religion and how I approached to Satanism. I grew up pretty much just atheist. My mom informed me and let me know what was going on in the world and what religion was. I went to church a few times because her family was I think Baptist. I actually don't recall. But I grew up in the Midwest in Kansas, and my grandfather was a very religious man. And so the times I went to church, I talked to her about it. Didn't really anything came from it. And around about 13 was when I explored a little bit more deep into a different kind of religion, into occultism. I was a Wiccan for a hot minute, but I'm 35 now, and that was in the late 90s. So that was when the craft came out. So it was all the rage. And that was more natural than it was to do with a higher being or something like that. I was super interested in the supernatural. I tried to do telepathy and telekinesis and all sorts of everything. I think the closest thing I got to as a kid was doing telekinesis, where you try to move a very small object with your mind, and you imagine a barrier around it. And in my head, I did it once, but it was just completely a fascination of my mind. So after that, I just generally came up as an atheist kid, very anti-theistic. I did not like the church. I didn't like any churches. I didn't like any religions. I saw my mother suffer under a lot of religious trauma and abuse, and so I didn't want anything to do with it. From then on, I was just very political, and so what it brought me to Satanism was I read the Satanic Bible in high school and in college a couple of different times, and just to see what it was about. And then around 2012 was when the Satanic Temple came around. And when the Satanic Temple came around, I was like, oh, this is interesting. That's cool. I didn't think much of it. And then after that, about 8 years later, really 8 years, maybe 10 years later, the last 2 years ago, I saw the documentary Hail Satan ? And I was like, oh, they actually have an organization and they're building a community, and there's over like 250,000 Satanists or people who are members of the Satanic Temple. And I said, this is something that I can be a part of. After I read the 7 Tenets and obviously did a little bit more research into the community that I was going to get involved in. And from then on, I would say, 2 years ago, I bought the statue. I started calling myself a Satanist on various platforms on the internet, and just telling and reading about it and learning about more of it. And then one day, one of my TikToks blew up when some kid asked me what Satanism was about, and it took off from there. And now it's something that I'm completely enveloped in. I teach on, and I help people with. I take a bit of a. I'm not a minister of Satan yet. I'm probably going to do that eventually, but I do advise a lot of people on my brand of religion and how I'm an atheistic Satanist. I don't believe in Satan. I'm not a devil worshiper. It's not about any of that. It was more about politics for me at the time, but it became more about the religious community and the people involved that kept me going, because I've always been a leftist and a Democrat, and now I'm even further left. And TST, the Satanic Temple, is a left-leaning organization. I do not represent the Satanic Temple. Very important to say that at a podcast.
Yeah.
And so from then on, it brought me to where I am today, educating and talking about it all the time.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
So how did it go from politics into Satanism? Like, what was the bridge?
So the Satanic Temple is, they had to become a politically active organization because they're members who have deeply held religious beliefs in things like bodily autonomy, which most people who know what the Satanic Temple is, they know they're active in the conversation around Roe v. Wade, what's going on in Texas with the abortion heartbeat law. Yeah. And also they've done various things within smaller communities, like helping children who are being beaten in school. Still, like, that's still a thing in the United States. They still hit kids in school. I think particularly in Louisiana. Wow. And so they in order for them to defend their members in whether it be for abortion rights or other facets like freedom of speech, they had to be more politically active. So they had to now they have several congregations throughout the world, and the organization is now split into one that takes a more legal active side of things and pursues religious freedom within government and advocates for separation of church and state. And then the other side being the community side, where we have all of the Facebook groups and all the people involved who do fundraisers and various charities.
Holy shit. So, okay. This is blowing my mind already because I don't know any of this. So I'm going to be asking a lot of dumb questions. And, but I like, essentially, I want anyone who's going to listen to this, like, because you talk about the dogma and the stigma around Satanism, and like, specifically, are there theistic Satanists? Like, you're saying okay, so explain the difference between what you do and theistic Satanists, which is they believe in a deity, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So the way it's kind of, theistic Satanism is a little bit more like paganism or polytheism, where they work with multiple different deities. Those can be anywhere from like Azazel to Belial, to Satan or Lucifer. Satan is a title, and Lucifer is the deity that would be. And those are various demonic forces that certain demonologists work with. And then there's also the Luciferian side of things, which Luciferians are kind of there's it's a different specific brand, and there's so many different types of sects of Satanism. I'm a modern romantic Satanist, which means I'm an atheistic modern romantic Satanist, meaning I don't believe in a higher power. Satan is a symbol from 18th century literature, romantic literature, which is where you get the romantic part. Okay. And that has to do with texts like Revolt of the Angels and Paradise Lost, where Satan is a revolutionary and chose compassion and empathy and wisdom over corruption and being a corrupt God or Jehovah or whatever you will call, because that we view that as kind of a dictatorial type of figure, and which is where we get the defying theocracy type of role, being the adversary. That's what Satan is. Satan just means adversary. So it all gets broken down, and then the theistic part of it is that's a little bit more in depth. I don't speak for those people, but yeah, it's their side of Satanism is the side of worshiping a certain type of entity or working with, depending on who you ask, is what they'll refer it to as.
Okay, so you don't believe in any particular entity?
No, the brand of Satanism and modern romantic Satanism, which is TST's brand of Satanism, okay, is one that acknowledges science and does not distort scientific fact. We believe in bodily autonomy and compassion and empathy for all creatures within reason. We believe in the right to offend. And it's the 7 tenets of the Satanic Temple is my core belief system. Okay.
Now, no, the documentary, what's the documentary called again? Because I did see that. I saw that over the pandemic.
Hail Satan.
Okay, and with a question mark.
Question mark.
Hail
yeah.
Satan. Is it in Salem, Massachusetts? Didn't they have a building there?
They do. That is where the main headquarters for the Satanic Temple is. It is the only structure that is involved that we have within that they have within the organization. I'm sure they are eyeballing other places in the world that they would like to have from state to state to have a place to be. What they're currently fighting for when it comes to Texas and abortion rights is the ability to provide abortifacients for their members. So if the government was to deny somebody an abortion, they could have those services provided to their members. And so they would be able to open up facilities in order to provide those things for each that needed it.
Okay, because the individual could be like, this is my religion and this is my right as per my religion, correct?
Yeah.
Now, is the Satanic Temple, is it recognized in the United States as a religion? Okay,
yes,
so
they're the only satanic religion that is recognized by the United States government and afford those privileges that those, I think it's 304, 301C recognition is. So they get their tax. They don't have to pay taxes and things like that.
Interesting, and they're the only ones. That's wild. Holy shit. I'm learning so much.
So in regards to the Church of Satan is an organization that was founded by Anton LaVey, and that's Anton LaVey founded modern Satanism, which is where we pull our Satanism from. But that's LaVeyan Satanism, which is based on the Satanic Bible and Anton LaVey's philosophies. We've pulled influence from that, but are not strictly based off of that. They're not recognized by the government, and but they choose not to be recognized by the government. They prefer to be apolitical, which I understand from a certain perspective. As a Satanist, they want to remain independent because we're individualists.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Anton LaVey, the Church of Satan, not recognized by the government, and the Satanic Temple just pulls a little bit from his... Wait, did he write the Satanic Bible?
Yes, he wrote the Satanic Bible, but he did plagiarize a bit of it from Might is Right by Ayn Rand. So that's a whole other... That's a whole other thing that goes on there.
So one wouldn't think that there's this many different kinds of Satanism. Like I have absolutely no idea until right now that there was this many brands of it, you know?
Yeah, if I had to go into all of them, I would one of my friends on TikTok, the Gay Satanist, he is more well versed in the Church of Satan brands of Satanism and LaVeyan Satanism. He's done a series of videos that I tell people to go watch. There are 12 different types of videos that he's done on, on 12 different types of Satanism.
So I'm trying to just scratch the surface on something that it goes very, very deep, and we're trying to do it within an hour here.
Yeah, we don't need to go into any of that. That's why I'm shouting him out, because he's definitely a good knowledge source as well.
Okay, and what's his name?
The Gay Satanist
on TikTok.
Yep. I am Strike the Camera.
At Strike the Camera on TikTok. I remember when I first joined the app, I was just like, I didn't know anything about it. I posted some stupid animated thing where my head came out of a trash can, and I didn't post anything for like a year until I was like really bored during the pandemic. And now, I mean, I watched your is it called a channel, or what is it? Or is it your TikTok channel?
I don't know. I call it a channel, or like a page, maybe.
Yeah, your page / channel / whatever it is. Like it's grown exponentially recently, hasn't it? It went.
Yeah. So I got really active in March, and that's when I started really talking more about Satanism and finding a niche. The only way to be successful on TikTok is to have a niche. Because mine is like I do like music, hardcore punk stuff, and then the Satanism education and memes and comedy and all that sort of thing. So from there it blew up. But recently, I would say in the last in October, it's doubled in size. I went from having 20,000 followers that I got to in about September, October to November, and into December. I'm now at almost 60,000.
Yeah, and it's noticeable too, because I have been following you for quite some time, and you just see your numbers are like a lot of people are watching your shit. Now, does that come? And I assume it does, because I post just the most inane, dumb stuff, and like people tell me to unlife myself.
Same.
Yeah, and so. How does one deal with the and I'm sure that there's a ton of negativity coming your way, because people, and I'm sure the status quo just looks at Satanism as like you worship the deity, you worship Lucifer, you kill babies, you drink their blood, yada yada. Like how much of the influx is that kind of energy, and how much is people actually wanting to know more about this kind of stuff? Like, is it half and half, or what would you say?
I would say it's definitely not half and half. I would say it depends on what video blows up, but I would say it's about 10% of all the feedback I get on TikTok. Because I'll get a video, I'll get spurts of where videos will blow up. When Texas, the whole thing was going on in Texas, I had several videos get hundreds of thousands of views, and it was all just me calling attention to this particular cause. But I'll have videos that have randomly, like I had my biggest video on this particular channel that had to do with Satanism was a video. I think it's at like a couple million views now. And it was just me turning my flag, my Satanic Temple flag around, because people kept misconstruing it for the straight flag, which is a black and white striped flag. My flag is a black and white striped flag with a Baphomet in the corner, and it looks more like an old American flag, but with Baphomet and stars around it. And I turned it around, and then because somebody questioned that they were like, is that a homophobic flag? And people got upset about that, because the straight flag isn't inherently homophobic, but when you use the straight flag in opposition of the pride flag, it is homophobic. Yeah. And so the arguments blew up in the comments about that comment. And but I also said I'm pan because I am pansexual. To dispel that this is not a straight flag. Right. It is not a flag to do with any kind of sexuality. And then I said, "Hail Satan," as I do in a lot of videos. But every once in a while, so all of those three things clicked, and it blew up and got millions of views. And I had to turn the comments off on that for a little bit, because I was getting threats constantly from 14-year-olds who were telling me to unalive myself, as we say.
Yeah, it's insane. I posted a video of someone in Macomb County had a Jeep, and the P and the J are guns, so it's like Jeep. and all I did is I was at work and I just took a little video of it and I just said, "It's a Jeep thing, you wouldn't understand." And people are angry as fuck. It's crazy. All you got to do is throw a Trump hashtag in there, and then everyone goes to war. And
I don't ever do that.
it's a bad idea. Well, it works though, because I mean, it gets like thousands of people see it, but everyone is just screaming at me and calling me a snowflake, and every like buzzword you can think of that right wingers use, they're just throwing it all at me. And it's like a part of it is hilarious, but a part of me is like what am I gaining with this negative attention?
Exactly. It's not your platform. You're a musician. Like, this has nothing to do with your platform.
Right. But if I see something funny, and that's what you're saying about TikTok, you got to have a niche. I don't have a niche. I just post all types of dumb stuff, and some of it hits, some of it doesn't. But like when I'm driving in Macomb County, there's a bunch of crazy rednecks, and they do it. They have like a Trump float by where I work every Saturday. They do like a legit Trump parade where they have like a big float, and then everyone's like waving Trump flags.
We have those too down here. I'm in Florida, and they're if you go to Clearwater, they have them out there.
Okay, so Clearwater's like mostly a retirement community. It seems like when I used to tour down there, it seemed like it was just a shitload of retired people.
It's mixed. It's a lot of retirement people, but also you got your Scientologists and your college students. I'm in Tampa though. Clearwater is just where the good beach is.
Yeah, it is a nice beach if I remember correctly. So, as far as COVID protocol down there, it's non-existent, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Nobody really cares. It's it's one of those things.
As you cough, nobody cares.
I've been holding it back. I've had an infection for a couple of weeks now, and it's just starting to go away after I've finished my round of antibiotics. But yeah, it's the Trump presence here and the COVID presence is fairly non-existent. You get more when you get into the city. People are a little bit more conscious. Now that I have a cough constantly, I wear a mask more than I do on a regular basis. Like, I'll go to the store and I'll wear the mask, but like when I'm walking around outside, I wear a mask now. If I'm just like in the vicinity of people, because going down to Ybor, you get into crowds of people, or going to a concert or something like that, because concerts are free running right now.
Yeah, and have been the whole time, right?
Not the whole time. No, they stopped concerts. When we had lockdown, I think we stopped. We were pretty short on it. It was like 6 months, I think, at the most.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. So so you turn off the comments. People are coming at you, and do you take time to explain to people, like every single day you're explaining to people that you're wrong about me? I don't drink baby blood. I don't sacrifice lambs.
Yeah. I've only gotten the baby comment once, and I made a video response to it, but it was the funny part about that is the baby comment was on somebody else's video. So I had made a comment that got like a couple 100,000 likes on somebody else's video that had to do with the devil or something like that. And I made this comment where I just said, I'm a Satanist and I approve this message. And I think it had something to do with being pro-LGBTQ.
Yeah.
And that got so many likes, so many comments on it. And this one lady was like, you, like, I have no respect for you people. You kill babies and sacrifice them and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, ma'am, no. And I'm like, I went on to, like, I made a video response. I said no. And and I was like, go check out. Usually what I do, before I had 50K, I would tell people to go check out the Satanic Temple's website, or go when pin videos came around, I was finally like, just go look at my pin videos. I made a pin video where I explained the basics, but now I have playlists. After you hit 50K, you get playlists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's the most useful thing. I have an entire playlist that I've changed the name on a couple times, but it's just says Modern Atheistic Satanism, and that has all of my Satan memes. Where if I have a video that blows up, I'll put it on there. So I can be like, go look at the playlist that's attached to this video. And it explains immediately what's going on. And, but when it comes down to it, yeah, like that's like really just one statement. I'm sure I've seen it elsewhere where people have made those kind of statements, but those are few and far. Usually most people they tell me Jesus loves me, or they're like they're praying for me or something like that, or they hope I find the truth. I got that recently. And my response to that comment was, I stitched a guy who was saying, stop calling the Bible a fairy tale. And I stitched him, and I was like, you're a part of a system that is trying to overtake governments worldwide with your religion and trying to impose and oppress people. And he just basically just said, oh, I'm being trolled when they're saying it's a fairy tale, but I hope you find the truth and I pray for you. And I'm like, I know more truth than you do, guy. But yeah, other than that, I get tons of love all the time. My community is incredible. Everybody who comes into my comments on a daily basis, whether it's Satanism or not, has always been fantastic. I've helped a lot more people. I've helped people deconstruct from religious trauma. That's a big part of my platform, unintentionally so, because it's just a big thing for a lot of Satanists. They're deconstructing from Christianity and abuse. So it's come from that and molded into its own thing, where I take a ministerial role where I've advised people on how to explore their own path. And what you'll hear from some people, sometimes you'll hear them refer to Satanism as the left-hand path. That's you hit the left and right-hand path. I'm actually not very well informed onto why we refer to it as the left-hand path, and right. I probably should do a little bit more research on that one, but that's what we refer to it as. I did a long time ago, but I've forgotten more things than I've learned at this point.
Do you have an example of religious trauma and you helping a person, or can you give like a kind of blanket story about what that might entail and what your role is in doing that? Because that's intriguing to me.
Yeah. I've had several examples of that. I'll go from like the core one that I had with a close friend of mine. But I posted a video recently. It was about religious trauma. Tons of comments, people just being like, they've been mistreated in church. They've been beaten by their parents, told that they were evil for being gay. The list goes on. Wow. But a buddy of mine, he came out to his family member as a Satanist, and he was raised in the Midwest and was raised to be basically like the next Messiah by his family member. Wow. And he grew up and subsequently felt that he wasn't a part of this community. I wanted nothing to do with it. Was treated just not in the greatest of manners throughout his childhood and his life. But recently, and I would say this is several months ago, he came out as a Satanist to this family member that raised him, and they were older, didn't understand, and just kind of pushed him away. And it was because he was in love with somebody who was not on the was off the gender spectrum, was transgender. I'll say that much. And they just kind of shoved him away and dealt with us. And he was so upset and got drunk, and he called me up, and I consoled him. And I've done this for a few different people they didn't find the tactile way to come out as a Satanist to someone, which is still difficult for anyone. I still have a time when I don't discuss my Satanism with my family very often. I've talked with my dad about it just a bit, but it's we can go into that as well if you'd like. But
yeah, I'm interested in all this.
Yeah. So I helped him along, and we still talk from time to time. And the other day I helped someone figure out, they were like, oh, I identify as a Satanist, but I'm still spiritual. What does that make me? Like, they don't look at a higher power. And so I help them analyze their feelings and what they feel like they can identify as, because we're all looking for a label. And how to kind of sort our lives out in our paths in our lives, and finding that path that we can call our own. And that's what it comes down to for a lot of us. So they come to me to kind of better understand that.
Well, that's wow. And it has to be a little bit easier presenting like, hey, I'm a Satanist, when you're like non-theistic, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to like being like, I worship this deity and this demon. You know, it has to be a little bit easier, but I can understand also, like, having been raised Christian, and the fairy tale of it all. it seems so weird to me. Just the little wafers and the wine and everything.
Yeah, they have their rituals. I mean, and like there's we all have our rituals when it comes to that. So like when and rituals are proven by science to work. That's the thing. So when they do the wafers and the blood of Jesus Christ and all that, that benefits them in their way, but it's like that's for them, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. So we move on from it.
Yeah, I just remember when I was a little kid being like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I never questioned it because I'm just like, okay, this is what mom tells me I need to do every Thursday. We need to open up these books and there's the little, cartoon drawings of Jesus, and then we're sitting in the church and learning all the songs and singing. I like to sing, so to me it was just singing. I was just like la 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 la, but I remember these songs. You take away the sins of the world.
Christianity has established itself as just such a norm in society that it impacts us all, regardless of whether they want to or not, because they go out of their way. I've been told by so many Christians that it is immoral for them not to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, the word of God, and it's just like, go away. I like, stop. You don't need to do that. It's not immoral. Why do you think it's immoral for you not to spread your religion? Don't do it anymore. Proselytization in Satanism is wrong. You don't. Though I have come across theistic Satanists that do proselytize. The other day, I found a Satanist who was he was creating pamphlets for his I think the church was called like the Twin Temple of Lucifer or something like that, some very offshoot side of Satanism. And my one comment was on it. This is Christians proselytize. We don't. And I feel like all Satanists and pretty much I've never come across a pagan or anybody who's proselytizing their religion to me. Even Muslims don't try to get me to become a Muslim. I rarely get into any kind of religious discussion in the comments with Muslims. I've had hate from them very few times, but 9 times out of 10, it's a Christian. And Jewish people are the most respectful out of all the Abrahamic religions.
Nice. Whew, so, what else were we going to talk about? You said if you
I'll talk about my dad, how I came out to my family as a Satanist.
I would like to, tell that story, please.
So this happened recently, very recently, and I started identifying as a Satanist 2 years ago, and this happened probably back in late July, or maybe even later than that, maybe August even. My father saw a post when I received my Satanic Temple certificate, and he's like, "What is this about? You're a Satanist. I don't understand." And he's like, and I'm like, and I went and I gave him my spiel. I believe in the tenets of the Satanic Temple. Here's the website. This is atheistic Satanism. It's based in romantic literature, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't pay attention to any of that, which, he just recently converted to Christianity, to put some context into this. And he kind of just brushed through that and said, "Oh, you identify with the embodiment of evil. I'm disappointed that kind of fatherly thing." And I was struck by this. It ruined my entire day. I went and got my nails painted to help me get over it.
Well, of course. I said, of course that'll ruin your day.
Yeah. And so, and then he slept on it and then did some research. And he came to an article about the Church of Satan, and he's like, "Son, this," because I told him that this is a left-leaning thing that I like when it comes to politics. And he came across an article about the Church of Satan with, I forget the name of the guy. It's an article where he's like wearing a pretty a nice button up, and he looks very military. I forget his name, and he had like an armband with a Baphomet sigil on it. And he's like, "This seems very libertarian. That's not your kind of politics." And I'm like, "That's the Church of Satan, Dad. I'm a Satanic Temple member. These are two different things. They have different type of ideologies behind them. Here's the link again." and then we didn't really speak about it since then. Recently, my uncle started following me on TikTok, who my family's never really been, on my dad's side, been very religious. So when my uncle started following me, I thought I'm interested to see if he ever mentions it in a talk. We haven't talked quite recently, but it's going to happen during the holidays.
Oh yeah.
And he's cool though. He got me into punk and metal and all of that in the music scene. So he's always been that cool uncle that kind of showed me the things that I really got me into. And I have a feeling he'll be a lot more understanding of where I'm coming from, because he's seen some of my, like, I've seen him like some of my TikToks and he followed me. So does his wife. So I have a feeling they're just going to be all the more understanding, because they're a little bit younger than my father is. My dad's in his 60s. My uncle's in his late 40s.
The cool uncle.
Yeah, cool uncle. He was the one who taught me bad words and stuff.
Yeah, everyone has a cool uncle. I remember when I was on tour with Fishbone, my dad was like, "Fish who?" But my Uncle John, he was like, "Fishbone, yeah, 120 minutes and party at Ground Zero." And I'm like, "Uncle John, you're all right." My dad, not so much. But
my mother's the one that's interesting. She's known about this the whole time and has been cheering me on the whole time. And she's the one who suffered from more religious trauma from my father. And she recently visited and we talked a bit about it. And I showed her what I do and how I do things. And she still is a bit like off-put when she sees me talk about Satan or anything to do with Satan. She sees like all the stuff I have here, because my house is decked out in various Gothic and Satanic decor. And so she's, it doesn't like trigger her by no means, but it's just kind of, it's off-putting at first when she first saw it. And then she gets here and she sees it and it completely diffuses it for her. But she's more spiritual instead of religious in at this point. And because she does yoga, tarot, she believes in ghosts and stuff like that, which I don't believe in any of that stuff. At most, I have like oracle cards, which are things where we use a thing called the Devil's Deck, like tarot, but it's about looking into yourself and reflecting upon yourself, that kind of stuff. Because those are when we go into Satanism, there's supernatural, and then there's the secular, which is nothing to do with anything supernatural. We don't believe in supernatural magic. While the Church of Satan does practice practice magic, I almost said supernatural magic. It is. I said they practice supernatural magic in a comment section the other day, and somebody was very adamant to say that the Church of Satan doesn't practice supernatural magic, but that I feel could be different for a lot of people in their opinions, because it's an individualistic religion and everybody has their own thoughts on it.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So, what can you rattle through the 7 tenets of Satanism, or is that going to take too long? Is it like the 10 Commandments?
Yeah, it's pretty quick. And I should have had one on me. I have a card that I can read them off because I don't want to screw them up.
Yeah, don't screw them up.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah,
I'll snag. I have them around here somewhere. There we go. Nice and easy.
Thank you.
So, yeah, there's and I've mentioned them a couple of times here, but let's go through them. Tenet 1: one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Tenet 2: the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Tenet 3: one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. Tenet 4: the freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego your own. Beliefs should conform to our best scientific understanding of the world. We should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit our beliefs. Tenet 6: people are fallible. If we make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused. It's one of my favorites. And finally, yeah. Tenet 7: every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. There's that.
See, that's lovely. What any non-theistic Satanist could just rattle those off and pretty much explain to anyone that, hey, these are the tenets, these are my beliefs, and how could you argue with any of that?
Yeah. And more often than not, I'll get Christians who will be like, "You just totally ripped those off from the Bible," and I'm like, I understand where they're coming from, but basic good principles and morals sound like that.
Now,
the difference there is the science.
Yes, yeah, that is one thing that they don't talk about in the Ten Commandments. No mention of science. So as far as the Bible being a fairy tale, do you believe that Jesus was an actual person?
I used to believe the propaganda that Jesus existed. Like you'll hear the Shroud of Turin is an argument that had Jesus's DNA on it. That was completely debunked, and I wasn't aware of that until like a few years ago. But no, these days I have a feeling that Jesus is just a character in a book, not an actual person. And if Jesus was an actual person, it was just a good dude that inspired a lot of people.
He couldn't walk on water.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
those are all just stories that, like, one of the things that one of the stories from the Bible, or I don't know if it's from the Bible exactly, but when people ask me about other types of demons and devils and stuff like that, because we use other demons in infernal names and stuff like that, like Belial, Azazel, Behemoth, and all those. The demon of the desert is Azazel, and Azazel is that's where you get a lot of the goat lore from. Azazel's represented by a goat, and the goat is incorporated into a lot of things. You hear scapegoat, which is basically a Christian reference to scapegoating a particular person or thing. Azazel, and I believe the Jewish people back in the day would sacrifice a goat to ward off the demon of the desert, and that's Azazel. I'm hoping I'm not screwing that up, because I get Azazel and Azathoth mixed up several times.
No one who listens to my program is going to know any of this, so even if you mess it up, I don't think
I'm gonna share this to all of my friends, so they'll call me out where they can.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they'll keep you accountable. But yeah. Okay, so as far as the story of the Bible, you just think they're just stories that are meant to morals and to, like, oh yeah, that was my point of the demon of the desert. That was to tell people not to go into the desert. That's why Azazel, the demon of the desert, along with Jesus wandering in the desert, who he ran into Azazel, which is another in the desert, which was Jesus dealing with his morals. That's a story in the Bible. That's who that devil is. It's all just tales to stop you from doing things that are dangerous, like wandering in the desert in the Middle East. Yeah, fear tactics. That's wild. And I get that. Like everything within the Bible has a reason for it in context, but they're used as tools to manipulate modern day problems that don't apply to what is it, 9 BCE or whatever, back when the Bible was around. It doesn't apply to then. It applies. We're in a different time. Those things don't work here. Yeah, you think of the piece of script that was written that many years ago, it still applies today. It's just kind of a ridiculous concept. And it's mistranslated throughout history. Like, there's so many different translations. I've been talking with a lot of different people who are deconstructing Christians, who've been informing me on certain aspects of the Bible. Like, there's an original telling of the Bible, which is Sumerian, and it's about Enki, and I forget the name of the other one, and I think it's like El or something like that. And one of them is a snake type figure, and the other one is like supposed to be Jehovah. Obviously, the snake is the devil, and that's one of the roots of the story. Is the snake tried to free man and give us wisdom in order to free ourselves from this person who created humanity to serve him. And that's where we get the idea that we are not born to serve this higher power. We were born to live and breathe free. Fucking A. Yeah, it's some deep shit. There's so much out there that have tales and stories that have been interwoven, inspired from the Bible, and then
stuff that like it's just so many times. Like one of the biggest argument you'll hear on TikTok is how the Bible has been used to validate slavery throughout history.
Oof.
And yeah, exactly. And to that, I've done research on that one, and there are certain passages that I think it's Matthew and Ezekiel. I don't remember the numbers, but they that were used during American slavery's prime, and those were used to validate the like slavery to the people that were affected by slavery, and so these days Christians, they cherry pick, and that's what they continually do, and that's what we always are fighting with, like, oh, well, just because God, laid out the plans for how to treat a slave doesn't mean that that's God's law. And that's the argument that I've been seeing going around a lot lately. And in that regard, then how are we supposed to abide by the rest of the Bible if this one or several things aren't a part of it? Those are just stories to tell us those things. It's so you're admitting to cherry picking.
Right. God didn't mean that. God meant this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I will inevitably probably have to start doing more and more research about the Bible, because I go out of my way not to argue with people about their religion. I'm not going to tell you your religion is wrong. I'm going to argue with what you are using your religion for, and what your religion has been used as a tool, whether it's an oppressive tool or a tool for hate or anything like that. But I'm not going to tell people what to worship. One of the biggest things I try to get across in my TikTok is that I'm a religious pluralist. You can worship whatever you want. I don't care. Do your thing. Don't impress it upon me.
Right. Just like you don't impress it upon anyone else.
Exactly.
Okay. You're just providing people with, like, this is what I'm into and this is what I'm about, and that's noble, Too many people are shoving their shit down everyone's throat, saying this is the right way.
Tenet 7, it's everything we do is with nobility in mind.
Because honestly, the way I see things, though I may think a lot of it is the right way, ultimately I'm just a human being. I'm flawed, and that's what I like. That one tenet that goes with about making a mistake and learning.
Yeah, that's my
from
favorite tenet.
So explain that one real quickly again. What did it say?
So it's people are fallible. If we make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused. And for anybody who's curious, before we move on, these tenets were written by Lucian Greaves and Malcolm Jerry, the founders of the Satanic Temple. And
you're a member of the Satanic Temple?
Yes. I do not represent them. I'm going to say that as many times as I can, because it's very important that as we are an individualistic religion, we have to separate ourselves from these organizations because they represent us, and it can affect when we speak publicly on these things. That's what Christians don't do. They just speak for Christianity no matter what,
yeah.
And it waters down their message.
It absolutely does. It makes it kind of gross, actually, because I'm sure there's good Christians,
Certainly,
even if they believe in a fairy tale,
Yeah, indeed, and that's the thing. And so, back to this tenet. People are fallible. If we make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it. That's my favorite thing about this tenet is that, obviously not all things can be rectified. People can make mistakes that are unforgivable, and we are unable to rectify those misdeeds, but we still must do our best to rectify those things. And that's where me and cancel culture cross. There are people who've made mistakes on TikTok, who've said things, they do things, and then they either don't apologize for it, they don't try to rectify it, they don't try to treat their misdeeds with the nobility it deserves.
Yeah.
And those people obviously deserve to be deplatformed, but they continue on with their disrespect and those are just people I lose respect for, because we are all fallible, but we got those mistakes that we make if we can't rectify them, we have to do our best to do so regardless, because we're still living, breathing human beings.
Yeah, and it's not like just if you're deplatformed, your life ends. You still have your life behind the scenes to live and whatnot.
Yep. And it's just like, you know, you want to feel better about your existence, and like I'm not a very good liar. I'm sure I could do it if I really had to, but like I try to be as honest as I possibly can. And you know, people in their daily lives have to touch on those things and make these choices. And you know, if you make that poor choice and you can't make up for it, and people just say, "Oh, what you did was unforgivable," and they go about their business and they disown you, you're gonna just lose friends here and there by keeping up with this denial of this human's existence. They're still out there. They're still going to be there. But like, you know, whether or not they stay within your community is a whole other question.
Do you feel that human beings, what we consider to be unforgivable these days, is a little harsh? I mean, that's all depending. I mean, it's all subjective and depending on, but I mean, as a whole, like, do you feel like people are out to get each other more now than they have been in the past?
I think it's amplified a lot more because of the internet.
Yeah.
When you're like, I would say back in the day, when it comes to like, you're in a small community and you commit a crime, you do something that is unforgivable in the eyes, whether it be some kind of assault or of a sexual nature, or unaliving of somebody. I don't know how much can I curse on this? You
can say fuck, shit, whatever.
Okay, whether you're murdering, killing, raping, any of those things that we deem as truly unforgivable.
Yeah.
Those are the things that when you commit those things, like and whether or not it's been proven, there's like the thing with that is like we get accusations running, and it's hard to prove a lot of those things. And so you have to be careful with all of that stuff, especially on the internet, because if you aren't transparent about it, you aren't honest about it. We curate our lives so much on the internet. You don't really know that person you're looking at through the camera. Everybody has their things. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's weird too, because I'm talking to you, I feel pretty relaxed, but honestly, I know you from your content. Like, this is the first time we've actually had a conversation in real life, which I really appreciate you being on here. I will admit I'm a little tired, and I've had a long day sitting in front of a computer editing video. So but you're rattling off very concisely, and I'm just kind of trying to keep up.
No worries.
But I really appreciate it. And it just going back to those tenets, it's wild to think that it would be as hard to come out as a Satanist as it would to come out as trans or gay or anything like that. There would be that much stigma attached to it, especially when it's like it's out there for people to learn that, hey, there's different things, and this is what I am, and it's actually those 7 tenets. There's a lot of logic, and it seems like compassion and love involved in those.
Yeah. There definitely is, and it's. I would say it's not comparable. It's hardly comparable to coming out as trans or gay or anything like that.
Okay.
I've barely talked about sexuality with my family or anything like that. But to me, that's just my default, and it's not something that I you know, if they want to talk about it, they can talk about it. But yeah. I don't think they really want to know my any of that stuff. But it's all out there publicly. I don't make any of that private. They can know if they want to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing with being like, even if the information is out there, the stigma will always be there, because the Satanic Panic in the 80s and 90s has continued on into the millennia here. And the Christian church will continue to use Satan and Satanism as a scapegoat to demonize just everything and anything that they want to call bad.
And the Satanic Panic, was that kind of like the reefer madness of the 60s kind of thing? Like, it was a lot of propaganda involved? Like, exactly what went down with that?
So the Satanic Panic, that's a pretty extensive one. There's a couple good documentaries about it, okay. Like The Sons of Sam on Netflix. It was a period of time where a bunch of crimes were committed, and there was a lot of people being accused of being a Satanist, doing murders and baby killing and all this stuff. And the government got involved in a lot of this stuff, and people were they did a lot of, I don't know how to refer to this correctly, but there's an organization within the Satanic Temple called the Grey Faction that helps people deconstruct from this brainwashing that the United States government took part in, where they convinced these people that they did these murders and that they put them away for, and then were subsequently released because it was proven to be false, because the government got them to admit to these crimes, and by admitting that they're Satanists and all this stuff. So it created a panic in the general population where if you refer to something as Satanist, or you're a Satanist, that you had a stigma behind you, that you were a murderer or a sacrificer, or you're bloodthirsty or whatever. And it carried on into today, where you see things like Travis Scott and his concert, where he had a bunch of stuff that to people, they'll look for symbols in anything, and they call it satanic. And popular culture itself throughout history has used, through modern history, I should say, has used Satan as a means to get people's attention. You'll see like XXXTentacion, you'll see pentagrams and stuff. I mean, obviously metal music has used, Slayer, it's, all of that. And I'm sure a lot of, who was it recently, like Kit, when the thing went down with Travis Scott, the Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Oh yeah.
That whole thing, I did a whole news story about it. Ace Frehley was like, he was clearly a satanic ritual on his Facebook, and major news sources picked that up, and I was blown away.
Yeah, like Blabbermouth and all that, or was it like actual major news sources?
Major news sources,
like ABC.
Like they talked about it on NBC and shit.
Oh my gosh. Did they run with it?
And it happens all the time. Like there was a priest, a Catholic priest, who was big into conversion therapy stuff. He did exorcisms and whatnot. He left the Catholic Church for a satanic erotica writer who he recently married. I haven't actually made a video post about this, and I probably should, because they've been they've been destroying this man's character on in various news sources on the internet. Some of them are like Christian based, but some of them are fairly well known news sources. And this has gone in 3 stages. And he became a pig semen farmer. So he gets semen from pigs, and he whatchamacallit, the word I can't think of, where you inseminate. He inseminates pigs, and so he has been called all number of names in these. I get notifications about anything to do with Satanism or satanic anything, and they talk shit about this man in every platform, in every way they can. He's been kicked out of. He left the church, but he also is no longer allowed to do anything with it. And he's a pig fucker, that kind of shit.
Well, is that any worse than the milk industry, the dairy industry?
Exactly. Well, he has a degree in this man has a degree in agrology, so he's agronomy, not agrology, agronomy. So his job is to look after farm life and to understand the science behind all that. And he married a satanic erotica writer, and that just immediately catches the media's attention, because he used to do the exorcisms for the Catholic Church in Spain or Portugal.
This guy sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'd love to talk with him, but like I don't. My Spanish is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, what a life though, to go from doing exorcisms and then you're like inseminating pigs with pig semen. I mean, like that's a kinky life.
I've touched on, and I've done stuff about religion outside of Satanism before. In the past, I did a podcast with a buddy of mine who I was friends with since I was 5, and about 4 or 5 years ago, we did a podcast about religion where I kind of played a dumb atheist, where I was just trying to understand and better understand religion. Which is where I kind of came to the conclusion that the Bible is just a metaphor, and that everything in the Bible is a metaphor for one thing or another, that God is a metaphor for one thing or another. And he told me the story, and I still have the podcast in my link tree. which is in my bio on TikTok. That we did about 8 episodes, but my buddy told me about the time he did an exorcism where he was like in the parking lot of a gas station and he did this exorcism on this woman, and all this stuff. And it's just like, all of that, just it's crazy. And my friend is the most progressive Christian I know. But like when it comes down to what an exorcism is, to me, that just seems like a cathartic experience that helps people get past certain things. I've watched exorcisms and revivals on TikTok because they'll come across my For You page. And it's a method of therapy for them to get over their depression, to stop. I see a lot of people like they don't want to sleep around anymore. That like they don't want to commit their sins. So they're trying to get them those evils out. The things that they consider evil out of their body because they don't want to be doing that anymore. And it's wild to me that like from an anti-theistic perspective, they view these things and they're like, wow, it's disgusting. It shouldn't happen regardless. Anyways, there is a use for religion, and it's an important use for people to be able to get through things. And, that's why I remain a religious pluralist. To do your thing. If you need it, you need it.
Yeah. So it's wild to think that. Do you think the people that are getting an exorcism done, like they actually think there's a demon inside them and it's getting? Do you think it's what's the word, like psychosomatic in a way, or like?
Yeah, it's definitely psychosomatic. That is the perfect word for this. It's a and from when I've watched them, it's entirely psychosomatic. And I think they have to feel like they believe these things in order for that psychosomatic response to happen. Because you'll see there's a woman on TikTok, I don't remember her name. I made a video about it a while ago where she's in like Mexico doing a revival, and she's like, Jesus, demons be out. This, like, your depression is gone, your anxiety is gone, and these people start just vomiting.
Whoa.
Just straight up. So you have to get to that kind of point.
Yeah, so it's almost like a crazy placebo effect where you just believe so much that this depression is a demon living inside you, to the point where when someone exercises it, you actually get physically ill. Like that's crazy. That's wild.
Yep. And it's like I feel like there's some truth to that when it comes to connecting the dots with like hypnotherapy and things like that.
Right.
We have to get ourselves in a state of mind to understand, like, which is why doing like psychedelics is a thing and helps with depression, because you hear people they'll take way too many mushrooms and they'll go on a trip for like days and they'll come back and realize something. They'll have an experience. Actually that's kind of an important story. In February, I went to the mountains and I got violently high on marijuana. And that was just before I started being active on TikTok. And I had an experience where I realized that I was not being creative, and I had lost my entire creative drive over the last like 8 or so years. Once I got out of college and kind of got stuck in corporate life, and this was entirely accidental. And I basically stayed up the entire night and thought about my life, and I recorded a bunch of it too, because I'm like, I need to record all this, like all these thoughts that are racing through my head and all of these things. And after that, I started being more active on TikTok, and now here I am with a much more satisfying life, I would say, because of Satanism.
That's lovely. Now, how did you get violently high? You say, did you ingest marijuana?
I vaped a lot of weed.
Okay.
My wife and I have medical cards, and so we were out in the woods in Tennessee, and we I was in a hot tub, and so when you smoke in a hot tub, it can get you a lot higher than you should. And so we were in the hot tub, and I hit it once, and then I hit it again, and I hit it again, and then I just realized I exhaled so much. And I've gotten really very violently high before, but this was beyond that. I was in another like realm. I lost my shit. It got to a point where I was like, I couldn't stop. My brain couldn't stop going. And I was like, you need to call my mom. I'm losing my mind. Like, I think I'm having a psychosomatic reaction or whatever. It was out of this world. I never want to do that again.
Would you say you had a religious experience?
Yeah, it was definitely kind of a religious experience. It inspired me so much so that I felt like other people should experience it. Like, I'm like it helped me get my mind and figure out who I was again, because I had lost who I was. I've always been into alternative cultures and into hardcore and stuff. Yeah. But it made me realize I needed to do that again. And I hadn't gone to a show in ages. And I went to my first hardcore show in years, like a month or so ago. And it was just, I was at that show and I was crying just a little bit. While moshing, I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe, what did I do? The moment I was there, I destroyed my entire body that night, because that's why I have this cough, is because I moshed way too fucking much.
It feels good though. There's catharsis in physical activity, and when I get up on stage and I get to get real weird with it, I have back problems. Like, I have my knee, my hip. Like, I'm about to be 41 years old, and I've been driving around, sleeping on floors for the last 20 years, and just being on tour constantly. And then I'm always doing some sort of manual labor job, because I didn't get a job where I utilize my brain as much. I've always just been strong guy, and so I'm beat the fuck up. Yeah, but there's a beauty to the pain almost, because the next day, when you're kind of rolling out of bed and your back is all fucked up and you have pain going down your leg, but you're like, I had a spiritual experience. I gave of myself in a way, and I exerted myself in a way. And that's
what's missing in a lot of people's lives. They need that experience. I should have been going to shows all along and continuing to do that, but I lost my way, and then COVID hit, and I'm like, I can't. And when COVID hit, my wife and I were like, okay, we're in a place where we can start going to do fun things again, because we'd been saving money to buy a house and do all this stuff. Yeah. And couldn't do it anymore. So now we're just stuck at home with each other. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to start making TikToks.
That was hard. COVID sucked, dude. I was in Long Beach and everything caught on fire. What's really weird is living in California and walking outside and you can't see the sun in the middle of the day.
Oh, you were there for that. Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. It was fucked. It was crazy. And we weren't where we were was in the South Bay, and it was just clouds of smoke with pillow down there, because we weren't really near any of the places that actually caught on fire. I mean, that was the mountains and the surrounding, wildlife, but it would just cascade down into the city and over the bay, and the whole sky was orange. It was some apocalyptic shit. You're just trying to see the sun. You can't see the sun. It's
that's another kind of religious experience.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, there was a time where I was canoeing and I ate way too many mushrooms. I think with my ex and we split maybe a half ounce. Maybe we ate a quarter each. Yeah, a quarter each is a half ounce. It was too much. But I was crying and there was snot running down my nose, and I was laughing, and then I was screaming, and then I was hugging this tree, and I could feel the tree breathing, and I'm just but I don't know what exactly I took from it. I didn't really make any changes in my life. In fact, she and I were pretty toxic together, but there was something about that moment where when it was over, when we were reaching, she was she had her shit together. Somehow she was totally cool and calm. I had snot dripping down my nose. There's people going by in other canoes, and I thought they were flamingo people. It seemed,
no.
Yeah, it was wild. It seemed like it was one of those, trying to think Alice in Wonderland type thing. And every group of people that would canoe by us, they were some sort of warped versions of humans. Yeah. It had beaks and but it was really, really intense. But what I took from that is that there's an energy kind of coursing through all living things, and I don't know if I don't really have religious beliefs. I don't really adhere to anything, but that day kind of made me think that we're all connected.
Yeah.
Anything that's alive.
I completely understand that.
Yeah. But I don't know what that means. I don't know if there's any grandiose actual conclusion that I came to, but I'm just okay, well, this tree just as much. But I'm terrible. I eat meat sometimes, I don't really do dairy.
The one question I get as a Satanist when I go live or just in comments is, well, there's two questions.
Yeah.
Oh, what happens after you die? And what about the beginning of the universe? And to both of those questions, I say, I don't give a fuck. But I do have like pseudo science beliefs that I say are complete bullshit. Like, we all have energy in our bodies, and that holds mass. And when we die, it goes somewhere, and it just goes into the universe. That is what happens after we die.
Yeah. No,
that you're not conscious. Your brain, you can't be conscious without your brain. But I know people will disagree with me on that one as well, because there are still people out there that think your mind is conscious outside of your body, and that your soul has its own thoughts, and you can't be a person without that. But and then the beginning of my favorite thing to tell people when they're like, a man, like I've had a guy come in my live and say, the beginning of the universe started by a man placing the first atom that created the Big Bang. And that was his argument. And to that I say, you're full of shit. Because you can't prove it. So there's no reason to argue with that. But my theory, if there was a reason for the beginning of the universe, it would be that the beginning of the universe happened at the end of the last universe. So we had the beginning of universe. The universe, it was like the implosion of the last universe started the beginning of this universe. That's my only pseudoscience explanation for what happened before the Big Bang. But you can't answer those questions, and there's no reason to dwell on that, because that's the threat that Christianity uses to get you. They want you to think that you have an afterlife and that you're going to see your family and all that stuff. But you can't prove any of that, and you can't prove Jesus existed. You can't prove all those things. If there was a way to prove it, we would all fucking know.
We would have the DNA. So when it's done, what do you think? Just blackness? You can't be conscious. So there's no like you said, without a brain, you can't be conscious. So once you're gone, you're gone.
Yeah, once you're gone, you're gone. And my mother, when she was here, we talked about this, and she's of the mind that what happens after we die is our energy goes into a big ball of energy. It's a little bit. Did you see the movie? I think it was called Soul.
Yeah.
A little similar to that, where our souls go into the big ball of souls, and they get kind of put into that ball of energy, and that's where we get like reincarnation. You get reincarnated to, I think you get reincarnated to another being, for not based on how you live. Just, I think we humans go back into new humans, and that's what my mother kind of basically said to me. And that in itself is romantic, but I in no way believe any of that, because it's just, there's no way to prove any of it. And I'm not going to go around telling people that, there is an afterlife when we can't scientifically prove it exists. If you can, by all means, have at it. But and I will be there, right there with you, to say, okay, you've scientifically proven that there's an afterlife. Cool. That's interesting. Where do we go from here?
Well, it's like that movie Flatliners. Like, we all just have to kill ourselves and then bring ourselves back from the brink, and then we can, write down what happens.
Even that is bullshit. I know people that have died for 7 minutes. I spoke with somebody, one of my friends. She died for 7 minutes, came back, saw nothing. Absolutely nothing. Shit.
Well, so much for my Flatliners thing, huh?
I know. I wish you could. That was a great film.
Okay, 7 minutes. Yeah, I like Kiefer Sutherland. We just played with the guy from Lost Boys, the sexy sax man, the greased up sax guy.
I saw that. That was so awesome,
dude. Sometimes I get to do rad shit, but man, 7 minutes. So was there any walk towards the light? Anything?
Nothing. I've heard it from other people who have died, but not for that long. That's the longest I've ever heard somebody tell me that they passed away for
what happened?
For some reason or another.
What happened to her?
She didn't tell me any of the details.
Oh,
I didn't really want her to get into it. But that I might reach out to her. Like, we'll do a live and talk about it, because that's interesting to me.
It's really interesting, because how do you die for 7 minutes and then come back?
People I've known who've died for I knew another dude he died for 2 minutes, and it was because his heart failed, and he came back. I think Obi-Wan Kenobi. Do you know that guy?
No.
He's a great TikToker. He argues with trolls all damn day long, and it's hilarious.
That has to take a lot out of you.
Huh?
Arguing with trolls,
oh yeah,
it taxes my mental health. You know, like some days, like I'm like, oh, I can do this, and I have energy and wherewithal, and I actually feel good about myself, and I could just like dish it out. But some days I'm just like, wow, these human beings are getting to me. Like, it's a bunch of strangers telling me I suck and I'm stupid, and they make fun of my hair and my face and the way I talk, and it brings back all of those insecurities that I had growing up, and my daddy didn't really ever accept me and all that stuff, and then I start internalizing it and think I actually am crap. And who would think that a fun little dance app could make you like really depressed?
For real. Like I've made friends on this app, and they abandoned me because of one reason or another, because somebody said something that I didn't say, or they perceived something that I said, and they're like, I don't want to be friends with this guy anymore. I'm going to kick him out of my community, and I don't want him to be a part of it, and they'll just block you. And it's the most devastating thing that has happened to me on this app, where these people I liked and wanted to be friends with completely betrayed me. And it's over the littlest bullshit. And most of it is miscommunication.
Yeah.
And it's the way I deal with trolls, especially when it's trolls I don't know, is I don't deal with them. I make a response, and then I think about whether or not I want to argue with them. And then but like now that my platform's blown up, I make a response to somebody. Everybody I'm friends with, everybody on there that's following me wants to argue with this person. And yeah.
I'm starting to notice that a little bit.
People do that on TikTok. They weaponize their following.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm starting to notice that a little bit because, the Trumpers will come in because I'll throw a stupid hashtag in there, and then, the people that like me will actually be yelling at them. And it's weird. It's like, these people are fighting my battles for me?
Yeah,
like that's
and they want to. They really do. I see people who they'll go into the comments. Like I'll have videos get a couple 100,000 views, and a 14-year-old will go into the comments and start arguing with every single person that says one thing. Jesus loves you, and they'll say some shit back to them. And I don't respond. I made a video for the people I'm mutuals with, and I'm like, hey, don't argue with these people. It's not worth it, and it will inevitably get my video banned if you argue with them that much. So it quells it a little bit, but I have 50,000 followers and or 58.5 or whatever now, and I follow about 2,000 people. And that video only got seen by, I think, about 1,000 people. So that's 1,000 people that I don't have to worry about trying to arguing with people to get my videos banned. Because that's what will happen is you argue with somebody on the internet, your video is going to get banned. You say something to them, you're going to get banned, and your account will be gone. And I've learned how to figure out not to get that shit to happen to me. The first time it happened to me, after that, I've not had a permanent ban since.
What's your advice? Because I've definitely gotten some community guideline strikes. I try to just keep it PG these days, because I keep it PG-13, because the way I look at it is if you are like really try to get mean with someone, and there's certain language you can't use either, and there's certain things you can't post about. But I'll let you go because you know more about this than I do.
So the best way I deal with it, other than Obi-Wan Kenobi, who seems like he's just immune to any kind of bullshit, pick and choose who you're dealing with, because if you fuck with someone who seems like they'll report you a million times, it's not worth it. Right now, Hyperhumanity, one of my favorite debaters, he debates religious people all the time. Always, he's actually converted people to atheism. Oh, wow. Because he proved them so wrong, and he convinced them that their religion was false and whatnot. I don't remember who that was, but you can certainly look up the guy. You respond to them eloquently. You treat them like a normal person. You can be a little rough with them, but I try to reserve my language. But if I can advise the best thing to do, find a good audio to respond to them with instead of arguing. They say some shit, and find an audio that speaks for you and lip sync it, because it's the only way. Like TikTok can't really fuck with you on that one. I did have a video get taken down once though. There's this audio that says I'm gonna go block this Ku Klux Klan member, Let me go block this Ku Klux Klan member. I used that audio once on a guy who was actually a Nazi.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, he had all of the Nazi shit in his profile, and it immediately got banned. Immediately. Like, it didn't get seen by the living daylights. And I appealed it, didn't stay up. And it's just me using an audio from a guy who's actually a Nazi.
Wild.
It was a death threat. It was a dude who said I should be lined up and shot.
Yikes.
Yeah, and that's the least of it. I mean, I've heard other things. Like, there's so many horror stories. I save those comments. And I've been told I should give them to the FBI.
Oh, geez. So how do you search for the audio, like a specific audio? So you just like find an audio that already exists and you use that to be like the rebuttal to some of these trolls?
Yep, I save them. I find them on my For You page. My favorite person to respond with just audios is Ghost in the Making. Do you know her?
No.
Ghost in the Making. She has several different accounts. I think she's on 2.0 and 3.0. Ghost.the in the making. I think periods pretty much in between all the way.
Okay.
She responds to. She's one of the best people to speak. Just in general on left-wing politics and to basically deal with these trolls because one, she's a woman and women get hassled on TikTok way more than men do. Along with trans people who get hassled, and trans femme people always get hassled on there. But she deals with the Trump trolls all the time. She particularly goes after the Joe Rogan guys, and she deals with them just so perfectly when it comes to audios and response. But she still gets banned because she pisses them off so hard that they go and they report the shit out of her.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so I look at her account, I look at others' accounts and see how other people are dealing with certain people, and then I take reference to that. Like, my favorite thing to do is to respond to anybody who calls me a liberal. I'm not a liberal, I'm a communist. When they say, oh, this is liberal cuck behavior or something like that, my only response to that is to just sit, stare at the camera, flick the camera off, and play the Soviet anthem. That's enough. And it never gets reported or taken down.
Yeah, and that's a way better tactic than just trying to give someone their own vitriol back, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways people deal with things. And I think just taking the informed road, proof, facts, sources, and just having a normal discussion. But even that will get people banned. Like a buddy of mine's Satanic TikTok 666, I think is his at. He was live the other day just having a normal discussion about the Bible and his beliefs as a Satanist with this cowboy hat wearing guy who wanted to understand things. And he had like 400 people in his live, and he got reported so much by these people for just spitting facts that he got taken down, and his live was banned within, like, I think 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's weird. It seems to me like TikTok has this way of policing themselves, especially I notice, like, if I post stuff about juggalos or whatever, it'll get taken down for violence.
Yeah, it's a bot. They have robots that police that stuff. And then they have three different ways to police things. They have robots who automatically recognize stuff. Like, I got banned on my live because I had my dog was taking a shit, and I accidentally had it on live, and that's when I got my ban. But I had already been reported several times that day, so they gave me a 7-day ban after that on my main account, and that's when I created my backup, and that was infuriating, just because my dog was taking a shit, and it's also hilarious. But I forgot where I was going with this. So
a bot actually recognized that your dog was defecating?
Yes.
How do you know?
Because there was nobody in that live that could have reported me for anything. Bots. So they have they're visual bots that recognize things that are gross, violent, any kind of that thing, or language. My wife. My wife was live with a friend of hers in our bedroom, and I snuck outside and banged on the window to make her scream because I'm an asshole and I shouldn't have done that. And she said, "I'm gonna kill you," and she said it on live, got banned.
This is my question. Vomit? Someone puking up milk
Yeah, I think vomit will do it, definitely. Gross. Any kind of gross things will definitely do it.
That's why my Juggalo video got taken down. Now it makes sense. It's because there was a Juggalo who did a milk chug contest, and he drank like a half gallon of milk with a bunch of vodka in it, and then he just was puking into a bucket. And we got there was maybe a 2-second clip of that at the gathering of the Juggalos.
I had a video taken down for hate speech once where it was me. So it was this Catholic, this lesbian Catholic preacher who was saying, "Oh, the Lord in the Bible, something about being gay and how gay wasn't mentioned in the Bible, and it originally meant pedophilia." And I just stitched her, and I was just dancing, just like, "Yeah, this is great because I support the LGBTQ community because I'm pansexual," and that people were like, "He's trolling her. This is him being hateful because he doesn't agree with this." And the video got taken down and permanently taken down because of hate speech. And there was no speech of any kind. It was just me dancing in the video. But enough people reported it because they thought I was being an asshole to her that they deemed it as hate speech. And I was just supremely upset with it because the video was like, it was at 10K when it got taken down.
And you were in agreement with her. It was a jovial, fun little video.
Yeah, one of my then friends was like, "Nick, you should duet this and you know, encourage this type of video because it's good." And other people have stitched it and duetted it and whatnot and gone along with the same thing. And their videos were still up. Her video is still up, but my video got taken down because I'm a Satanist, and they think that because I'm a Satanist, I'm fucking with this Catholic preacher, and I entirely wasn't. There are many Catholic preachers. I want to say 2 or 3 that I've come across on TikTok that are fantastic people. They're allies and they support Satanists like myself. And there's that one guy, I think he's like Pastor Ryan or something like that. He's recited the 7 tenets of the Satanic Temple on his TikTok. And it works for him too, because it pisses off other religious people. Like, this pastor agrees with a Satanist. What the fuck?
Yeah. But that just shows that the pastor that read that is a little open-minded and understands what's actually going on, as opposed to just being like, Satan bad, you know?
Exactly. And every once in a while you'll get, when Satanism, especially the Satanic Temple pops up in the media, you'll get TikTok influencers who will hop on the train. And the problem, the thing with the Satanic Temple is there's misinformation that can float around about TST. And there are people that go around spreading misinformation about TST. Like the misinformation that one of the founders of the Satanic Temple is a white supremacist, complete misinformation. He's an anti-Semite, that kind of stuff. They do this because they want to bring down the organization itself, because they're either A, threatened by it, or they will be hurt by the organization. Because we'll get the Satanic Temple will get people who will join looking to chase clout, basically, and they're looking to have it as their own cult of personality. And once they get found out for behaving in such a way, the Satanic Temple will be like, you cannot be a part of this organization. You are misusing this as a platform for your own gain. And they'll get mad about that shit, and they'll go on to then, you know, defame the Satanic Temple and say things about its members and about people. When I first got on TikTok, I got a lot of hate from people from the Church of Satan and LaVeyan members who don't like TST because they think the Church of Satan and LaVeyan Satanism is the true Satanism, the one true Satanism, and that everything else is bullshit. And there are creators on TikTok who have blocked me subsequently because of that. But they'll come in my comment sections and they'll spout off a bunch of hateful nonsense and tell me things that they think I haven't researched and know is bullshit already.
There's only one true metal.
Exactly.
There was an interview with the band Manowar. Do you know Manowar?
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. It's a lot of like Norse mythology and Odin, and you know, talking about swords, but they also like.
I love the Norse. The Norse are amazing.
So homies with the Norse, but they claim to know about true metal, and they're the metal kings, and it's I don't know, to think that your own sauce is the best sauce. The problem with a lot of like that gatekeeping shit, the thing within every community,
I think white supremacy always works its way into anything that's a subculture that's popular. You'll get a lot of Nazis who've invaded like the Sharps and the skinheads. Do you know about that all that subculture, right?
Yeah, we had Sharps in my high school, and they're the good guys.
The Sharp community is huge on TikTok, but they're like Satanists. They'll always get people in their comments like, y'all are racist. And they're literally, Sharps are skinheads against racial prejudice.
Yep.
They're against racism because Nazis took skinhead fashion and took it in. Satanism is the same thing. There are white supremacists within Satanism. It's the same thing with Anton LaVey taking from Might is Right. They've taken Might is Right and turned it into Might is White, and so they're turning that into their own disgusting ideology, and it's this, and it goes for pretty much it's all and that's all the right leaning type of Satanism. Within TST, we don't get a lot of people like that, and if they did come out as a supremacist or a racist or anything like that, you obviously don't identify with the 7 tenets of the Satanic Temple. You get kicked out.
Right. Yeah, and it's like that with any subculture. It seems like even like punk and metal. I mean, we just played a show in fucking. I mean, look at black metal, and we just played a show in Texas, which was I don't know. I'm walking.
It's Texas.
It's Texas. It's fucking. But it's weird because Reagan Youth uses all types of that fascistic imagery, but they use it satirically. And I actually had a conversation with someone on the Reagan Youth Instagram. There's a 14-year-old girl, and she hits me up and she's like, "You're my dad's favorite band. He's a Nazi." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wow. And then I started like reciting lyrics and just like big paragraphs of lyrics. I'm like, read these lyrics, and this is anti-fascist music. And the girl was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to school my dad. He's going to be so fucking pissed because he's a literal white supremacist and his favorite band is Reagan Youth because he doesn't get the joke." And so that was a good little exchange. I mean, it was in the band's Instagram. She came at us. She came at me and just being like, how could you be racist? You bunch of Nazis. And I'm just like, no.
Just because this man is a racist doesn't make us racist. He's just into our music because racists like to take on the punk aesthetic. It's just too good for them.
It's gross. I will admit though, like when I first was asked to sing for the band, and I'm sitting there, I was sitting in the sauna, the steam room at the gym. I like doing the sauna thing because my body hurts. It helps with my body aches and whatnot. It's good for you. And I'm sitting there like. And I have a little iPod, right? And I'm listening to the music, and the actual cover of Volume 1 it's a bunch of fucking KKK. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting next to a black dude, and I'm just like listening to the music, and I look over, I'm like, holy shit! Like this motherfucker's gonna think I'm like listening to some like racist ass music if they see. But at first glance, the album cover it's jarring. Like, you pick it up, it's a fucking white album with fucking KKK. It's black and white. KKK guy says Reagan Youth, and they have guitars, but like when you unveil and look at, you get a little bit deeper in it, you realize that, hey, this music is definitely anti all that. But yeah, at first glance,
the important part about all that is like getting the basis for a lot of the music you and I listen to, a lot of punk, the skinheads, obviously the Sharp movement was started because of black culture. Yeah. And we have to, like, that's so important to acknowledge. And within Satanism, the thing with Satanism and Satanists, I always get asked, are there people of color are there BIPOC people within Satanists? Are there, and all that? And I'm like, yes, there are. Yeah. But it's few and far between, because black culture in general coming up has been so influenced by religion that Satanism and religious trauma just runs so deep. So something like that is very output. But I have I know theistic and non-theistic Satanists who are BIPOC, and they're amazing people. They're very knowledgeable. There are ministers of Satan who are BIPOC, and they're fantastic people. And their voices matter so much in such a small space that it's very important to amplify them, because it's just I can't emphasize that enough, because our culture needs to be so intersection. It needs to be intersectional. It has to be.
Well, that's great. And the other thing that I find funny too about like any sort of white power music that is blues derivative. I mean, think about who invented the blues. Think about where rock and roll came from. It's black music. It became jazz, blues, and then rock and roll gets popularized and it gets whitewashed. You know, Elvis, all that. I mean, Little Richard was the king of rock, if you ask me. And then it's hilarious because those three chords, which is 1, 4, 5, are used in this like white power oi music or like all popular music, its roots are in black culture. And to take that and then put fucking racist lyrics over that is the most insane thing. There's nothing more ridiculous in the world than Kid Rock rapping in front of a Confederate flag. Like, dude, get the fuck out of here. And then where I'm from, people worship that dude. They're like, oh, he doesn't give a fuck about them snowflakes. Kid Rock for president. And it's like, dude, he's rapping in front of a Confederate flag. Where did rap music come from? It blows my mind.
It's quintessential fascism, and that's the thing with religion, Christianity. One of my favorite books that I read recently was American Fascism, which is about Christian fascism, and they're all it's what Christianity and white supremacy and Nazis have all done is they've stolen culture and influence and symbols and taken it for their own, like how the swastika was originally a Buddhist symbol. So many different things were taken and just completely whitewashed and destroyed so much culture. We've lost so much. Like Baphomet is a big symbol in Satanism. Well, most of my videos that go viral have to do with Baphomet, and Baphomet is about balance and wisdom and knowledge. But that's one of those things that has been co-opted to make it look like it's evil because they want to use whatever they can to call shit evil to just completely dominate a culture and steal from other cultures. Originally, Baphomet, we don't know where originally Baphomet comes because the Knights Templar found Baphomet while they were on a crusade, and they sent a letter back. And that was just those were white people taking a symbol and using it for themselves. Baphomet ended up being a battle standard, and then subsequently the Knights Templar were put to death for worshiping a heathen idol, Baphomet, or Baphomet, also called Mahomet. And it goes from there. They stole it from we don't know where because it's just one of those things because Christianity has washed the earth of knowledge of these things.
Wow. So what does Baphomet mean to you? And okay, let's say you're an idiot like myself. How would you explain it, like in layperson's terms? Like explain the symbol and the symbolism of that figure.
So Baphomet has evolved as a symbol over the course of time, but universally Baphomet is a symbol for balance and the universe. They represent all things. Baphomet represents male, female, all genders, and all masculine, feminine. The Baphomet is a goat-headed figure with, originally it was developed by Eliphas Levi. This is a very complex matter. So balance is what Baphomet represents, purely and formally, but it's a figure that is a goat head with wings and a body with breasts and both genitalia. And it's a hermaphroditic being. So, and there are different iterations of Baphomet as well, where the Satanic Temple has a Baphomet that doesn't have the breasts, but instead has children because TST did not want to make it about its gender, because obviously breasts would be something like you're putting this figure in this statue in government buildings. So it makes things a little bit more complex. But to me personally, Baphomet represents the balance and the opposition of oppression, because we've taken that as symbol and we've utilized it to repress our oppressors, if I'm using that word correctly. I am now getting worn out.
Yeah, I said I wanted to talk for an hour. We've been going for an hour 39. But this is fascinating shit. Because honestly, I know I could talk about guitars at an expert level. You know, I could talk about amplifiers at an expert level. I could talk about driving around the country at an expert level. But there's a million things on this planet that I don't know any fucking thing about. So that's why I'm the novice, I'm the beginner, I'm I am not enlightened on any of this. So I really
everybody's got their expertises, and that's what's great about TikTok is we can talk about those things and inform people.
Yeah, so when you look at, so Baphomet isn't a deity, Baphomet is more of a symbol.
Baphomet is beyond a deity, and to some people, Baphomet is a deity, but in my opinion, and to a lot of occultists' opinion, Baphomet transcends all deities. It's like Atlas, like holding up the planet, that type of thing. It transcends that is above all. It's why and they're all symbols. They're not deities. Satan, Lucifer, Azazel, Belial, all of those entities that some people do recognize as deities. To me, they're symbols. Belial represents the demon represents independence. Lucifer is Latin for bringer of light. Lucifer represents, in my particular text, represents revolution and compassion and empathy and wisdom. So all of these things have various little meanings here and there. So like the upside down pentagram there, I'm gonna put it up there a little bit. That represents Satan's perspective and critical thought, because it's instead of having the regular pentagram, which represents the elements and light or spirit, depending on who you ask. They all have different meanings to different people, and so that's the big miscommunication, is we all have our symbols and they all mean something different to a lot of people in various cultures.
Right. Wow.
Shit gets deep. That's why TikTok's amazing, because I can talk about so many different things. Like I've been talking about Yule and Sol Invictus, which is now a satanic holiday, which is originally a Roman holiday. Yule is what Christmas is now, because it's a pagan holiday. And then you got your Saturnalia, which is just a giant party that happens from the 14th to the 23rd of December, and everybody gets drunk and has a good time.
So when did the Christians co-opt this pagan holiday, and then it became the Santa Claus thing?
When did the Christians co-opt Christmas? Or when did I don't remember the year. That's gonna. I'm about to post a video about it. I did post a video about how they co-opted Yule. But it was I think it was like 200 CE or B or around 200. The Emperor Constantinople was the first Christian Roman emperor, and that's when he put down any kind of holiday like Sol Invictus, which Sol Invictus and Yule are both just celebrations of the returning of the sun on the 25th of December.
Yeah.
And Christians used Yule and incorporated that into Christmas in order to better get pagans to join Christianity, so that they could adopt them into their religion a lot easier and be more used to that aesthetic, because you have Yule, and like in Norse tradition, Santa is Odin, and it goes on and on.
Wow. So they're just like, all right, we're gonna like take all this shit and make it ours, and then we'll get more people to join our club.
Yeah, fascism.
See, you don't know any of this crap is a lie until people start pointing. Like I remember when I was in school and people were like, Christopher Columbus is a great guy. America's great. The Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, indivisible. And then you get to be an adult, you realize that everything you were taught when you were a kid is kind of bullshit.
Yeah, and there's so much shit out there. Like recently, I've been seeing a lot of different people talk about how like slavers and stuff back during the civil when we had slavery going on, like they used to eat people, like that kind of shit, and it's just stuff you don't expect to, like they used babies as gator bait back in the day, like really gnarly things that we don't know or talk about. And like I've talked with people who didn't know that ever happened, but it did, and there's proof of it.
Yay.
But in the end, we all have to understand who we are as people, and that these things have happened, and we have to recognize them so we can move on from them, and that we can come together as a species instead of just completely fighting with each other all the damn time. Because we're like, that's my thing with proselytization. You try to force people to believe your beliefs, that obviously is going to create conflict. We need to come together as we do during these times in the holidays and the pandemic and all this shit, we need to come together and unite and understand one another instead of trying to tear each other's throats out for, believing in some mythical being, which is why I will always be an atheistic person, but now an atheistic Satanist, because those beliefs are something that people feel like they have to impress upon one another. If we can get past this having to proselytize and con people into joining our religion and proselytize and converting our small children into religious people and imposing that upon their entire life, it would do the world a service.
How could a person like me say apply that to people with, people coming at me with their right-wing beliefs and calling me a snowflake and stuff, to like look at people that I genuinely disagree with compassion. Like, that's something you have to exercise, that I see you exercising it on the daily. I just want to tell everyone they're idiots. So what is a human being to do?
So in the end, the best you can do is to tell them they're wrong, and to, do some more research. But people are going to go on and believe what they want to believe.
Exactly.
And they're gonna do their research, and maybe we just hope maybe one day we can just, which is why I'm far left. I'm why I say I'm a communist, because I believe in that we should be in a moneyless and stateless society that should support people and give everybody their basic needs and provide mutual aid to those that need it.
Yeah.
But I push for those things because we hope one day that can be a thing. But right now, we just want to provide aid for those that need it. And the same goes for religion. I want to provide the tools for people necessarily to deconstruct from their oppressive environments, their trauma that they've grown a part of. And that's the best we can do is hope that they will get informed and get educated, and continually stomping those grounds of trying to educate those that are willing to listen.
That's noble as fuck. What can I do that's noble?
Create less of a toxic environment for others. That's what I would pass on to anybody. Do your best to be better than the toxicity that is brought to you. You'll see on the internet, people thrive off of being toxic. They make money off of being toxic. Be one less of those people. It's very difficult because you have to identify what's toxic and what's a noble cause to defend. And there are things like going after a certain person, doing your research, like somebody who's being a toxic person within a community. You have to be able to know every angle of what's going on. Critically think about those things.
I'm going to listen back to this and I'm going to take some notes. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate talking. I've been talking with people about going on podcasts and talking about this before, but it hasn't happened yet. And I'm stoked to do it with you.
Yeah, I started this thing like 2 years ago, and someone just was like, "Hey, you should talk to people on the internet. You know a lot of interesting people." So I'm just trying to get the most interesting human beings I know. And it'd be nice if I could do like a thing where I sit down where I was like, it's a little tough when you do the remote thing because sometimes conversations flow a little bit better when you're like sitting next to someone you can like.
Hopefully one day we can do that again. I'll like come up to Detroit or something. There's a Satanic Temple congregation out there that I know people in.
Yeah, did you see the weird Satanist guy, the Andrew Bowser, the guy?
Yeah, of course. I've known about him forever. He's awesome, and he doesn't quite identify as a Satanist, but like he'll be like, yeah, I guess from time to time. He's awesome.
Well, I just remember there was a Baphomet unveiling, and he did like a viral video. I was like, I don't know, guy.
That dude went off. And that's exactly what goes. Anytime it's Baphomet, people immediately catch.
And his whole thing is like talking about the world splitting open and Baphomet. Like he's talking about welcoming.
I love his channel. I donated to his movie he's doing for that character.
Yeah, what is it? Onyx the Fortuitous. Funny guy.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's a great writer, and he He was on Nerdist, the channel and everything.
Okay. Yeah, I just like that he kind of plays that character, and he would go undercover at like Comic-Con and whatnot, or he did that same character like working at Wendy's. I think he's a Michigan guy because it was a Wendy's in Michigan.
Oh yeah, he definitely is a Michigan guy. He's got to be. I bet you might be able to get him on your podcast. That would be dope.
I'm gonna find him. Yeah,
just hit him up on TikTok. He's there. He collabs with people out that way all the time.
I wonder like how many square miles I am from him.
Good question. I bet you're pretty close.
Yeah, I mean Metro Detroit. So here we are. But yeah, I think I think Downtown Brown is gonna do a tour in March. So I think I might be down your way. I just have to. Is there a place to play down there?
Yeah, there's tons.
Is there like a small place?
Yeah. My recommendation would be the Brass Mug, or like that's a small place. They take all types of bands. If you can, like the Orpheum, that's a little bit bigger, but the Brass Mug, I think the Pegasus Lounge still takes bands. Just let me know. I know some people that, I mean, I don't know if they book shows anymore because of COVID, but I know some people.
I just want to play a small room with a couple people in it. And then I want to go to the beach.
My wife and I are trying to move to New England next year. So we don't know exactly when that's going to happen. I'm aiming for like after March, basically. We'll see what happens. I'm like right now I'm interviewing for jobs that are remote so I can transition, and she wants to get out of the state, and I don't blame her.
You hear like there's a lot of, Florida man memes and Florida this and Florida that. I don't know. I've always enjoyed Florida. I just think it's a little humid. It's like Michigan humidity on steroids.
Yeah, it sucks. I went outside yesterday, and I was just like, it was humid and like muggy, and I'm just like, I fucking hate this state. I wanted to come down here and be more politically active, but it just like I went to some Democratic Party meetings, and like I'm about to make a video about that. Where I went to I had a picture of myself at a Democratic Party meeting, and I've always been that vote blue no matter who person, and I'm no longer that person because I just feel like the Democratic Party is now conning everybody.
It's hard to want to adhere to any of that anymore.
Yeah. I gotta get going, dude.
Oh, you gotta get going. Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Yeah,
we've done this way too long.
Yeah, this is like
I need to take a piss.
Yeah, take a piss. I've taken a piss actually on stream before. I just whipped out my bird, and there's a little bottle and whatnot. But hey, real quick before you go, plug your shit, and we'll get going.
So you can find me at Strike the Camera on TikTok, and then I'm at Strike the Camera with periods in between on Instagram. And those are my two platforms that I like to plug. I also have a website, strikethecamera.store, where I have merch that's available. I have a couple different T-shirts and some and a couple different designs and whatnot that are pretty cool. And all that stuff goes back to support my content and everything, and all of that support and everybody who's helped me out through this way. I super appreciate everybody, and I hope everybody has a great evening and that they hail themselves.
Hail you, hail me, hail us. Thank you, Nick.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. Thank you, Nick. And,
appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, appreciate you. And then thanks for being on here. And I'm just repeating myself now. You hit that red button if you want and go piss.
All right, man. Take care.
Later, dude. Is it working?
There we go. Yeah. Later, bro.
Peace, dude. So there we go. I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. Video editing. My name is Neil Patterson. This is my podcast. I really appreciate you listening. And that was Nick. Nick, someone who is genuinely well informed on stuff that I know nothing about. I'm a dude that plays guitar and drives around the country, and I know a lot about that. But I know a little bit about the Sopranos, and I can sell T-shirts pretty well. I can draw pictures too. I can do a couple things well. But yeah. Allie's calling me on the phone. Hello.
Hi.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I just finished with my guest on the podcast.
I heard that.
Yeah, so what are you doing?
Painting my nails.
Okay.
Do you want to watch you episode 2?
Sure.
I miss you.
I miss you too. We live together.
Babe, I haven't seen you forever.
I haven't seen you in forever.
Babe, I miss your scent.
I'm actually pretty sweaty right now.
I miss it. Get it on me now.
All right. Well, I love you. I'll see you when I press stop on this thing.
All right, I'll come downstairs.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, do you like this video? Do you want to see more stuff like it? Well, consider being a patron of my Patreon page, patreon.com/NeilP. If you pledge monthly, you get some perks, you get some exclusive content, and you get to help stuff like this get made on the monthly. Yo, check it out.